Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, in the last class we have seen some folk art traditions around the world. Today let us see Indian folk arts and how they have been studied. India as we know today has emerged as a result of numerous integration and disintegration that took place during long period in history. Excavations of site belonging to Harappa era shows that people lived in brick houses in towns with excellent drainage. One of the oldest scriptures in the world is the 4-volume Vedas that many regard as the repository of national thoughts that anticipated some of the modern scientific discoveries. Despite formidable barriers in the form of the mighty Himalayas and ocean, India also received a succession of foreigners, many of them carrying swords and guns, but nearly all of them stayed on. Out of this wave of immigrations has emerged the composite culture of India and made it a land of unity in diversity. India became a land of assimilation and learning, a land of change and continuity. According to one school of thought, the Aryans were among the first to arrive in India, which was inhabited by the Dravidians. Others who came here included Greek, Persian, Mughals and even British, Portuguese and French. Over the years, there have been many ruling dynasties like the Shakas, the Kushans, the Mauryas and the Guptas. Nearly every major religion in the world is represented in India. It also is known as the land of Buddha, Lord Mahavir and Guru Nanak Dev, the founder of Buddhism, Jainism and Sikhism respectively. India today has 29 states and 7 union territories. 22 languages are recognized as official language and there are more than 2000, actually the number is 2025 different ethnic groups that has been listed by the Archaeological Survey of India who live here. All of these different communities have their own distinct regional and cultural heritage. So, let us see how folklorists have studied the folklore material in history. The idea of lokadharmi. The word for folk in Indian context is loka. Folk or loka was recognized as a category from very ancient time. Lokachara, lokariti and lokadharmi were used to refer to folk customs, folk rituals and folk performance as distinguished from satrasara, satrariti and natyadharma etc. Desi and marga are also other terms used to refer to folk, local or regional or low culture style and refined, codified and national high culture style respectively. So, how did folkloristic the study of folklore material develop in India in history? Folkloristic started in India with the collection and compilation of folk songs and folk tales sporadically in the Journal of the Royal Asiatic Society of Bengal, which was established in 1774. In the first 100 years, it only could collect only a dozen of folk song and folk tales, but later interest developed in folklore when Indian Antiquary was founded in Bombay in 1872 under the editorship of James Burgess, who encouraged the publication of myths, folk tales, folk songs and popular traditions with a view to studying it. In addition to the publication of folklore material in this journal, some efforts were made to compile collections of folk tales and folk song. The Journal of Anthropological Society of Bombay, established in 1886, gave a maximum impetus to the collection and publication of folkloric material. So, let us see some of the initial publications in the field of folklore. The history of publication of folklore collection goes back to 1868, when Mary Ferrer compiled and published the Old Deccan in 1868, the first collection of Indian folk tales. It was followed by another publication of Indian fairy tales in 1879 by M. Stokes. In 1884, a collection of folk tales from Punjab by Flora Still and Sir R. C. was published under the title Wide Awake Stories. So, these are some of the first publications in the area of folklore in India. With the rise of nationalism in urban centers and particularly Bengal, the potential of folklore for reclaiming an unwesternized Indian society was recognized. Rabindranath Tagore is the most widely celebrated among nationalist folklorists. In 1893, he established the Bangiya Sahitya Parishad or Literary Society of Bengal and started publishing its quarterly, where folklore from various regions in Bengal were appeared. His objective was to seek the soul and spirit of the people in the folkloric material. After independence, methods from anthropology began to be used in the creation of more in-depth analysis of Indian folklore. Later, during the 1970s, some folklorists studied in US universities trained up themselves with the modern theories and methods of folklore research and set new trends of folklore study in India. Especially South Indian universities advocated for folklore as a discipline in the universities, and hundreds of scholars trained up in folklore. It was during 1980s that the Central Institute of Indian Language and the American Institute of Indian Studies started their systematic study on folklore in public domain, bridging the gap of academic domain and community domain. A. K. Ramanujan is one of the noted folklorists to analyze folklore from Indian context. His theoretical and aesthetic contributions span several disciplinary areas. He advocated context sensitivity of Indian folklore and classic poetry. In Where Mirrors Are Windows, published in 1989, and 300 Ramayanas, published in 1991, for example, he discussed the intertextual nature of Indian literature, written and oral. His essays, Where Mirrors Are Windows Towards an Anthology of Reflection, published in 1989, and his commentaries in the Interior Landscape, Love Poems from a Classical Tamil Anthology, published in 1967, and Folk Tales from India, Oral Tales from 20 Indian Language, published in 1991, are good examples of his work in Indian folklore studies. We can chronologically list 5 phases in the study of folklore in India. First, folklorists of India can be chronologically divided. The first phase was dominated by philologists and linguists working in Sanskrit, Arabic and Persian, who have no direct knowledge in India. So, these were the first people who studied the folkloric material of India, but they did not have a good background in Indian history or Indian traditions, but they were studying the linguistic perspective of Indian material. These were obviously non-Indians. Then came the British officials and missionaries, who collected the local knowledge and folklore to understand the subject they wanted to rule, and the missionaries who wanted to recreate the religious literature for evangelical purposes. Third were the Western and national scholars. In the third phase, a new kind of consciousness was grown among the Western scholars as well as national scholars, who started a combined method of fieldwork and philology, the purpose being the search of soul and spirit of the local people. In this were the people who had done maximum work in the folkloric material, and folklore was believed to have been studied as a serious discipline with the effort of this group of scholars. The fourth group of scholars are the post independent academic institutes and universities of this is the fourth uh, cluster of studying folkloric material. The fourth phase is the post independent period in the country, where many universities, institutes and individuals started studying the folklore. The purpose was to search the national identity through legends, myths and epics. In course of time, academic institutions and universities in the country started opening departments on folklore in their respective region, more in South India, to maintain their cultural identity and also maintain language and culture. So, this was when the folklore was began to be studied in academic environment, and serious research start to be done. In the last phase, the folklorists have endeavored to shift their focus of interest, as a result of which many interdisciplinary theories have evolved, which have opened up a new vista of research in terms of linguistic, anthropology, sociology, cultural studies, globalized economy and so on. The folk voice is merged in modern oral as well as literary discourse, and its role in present day ideologies is so potent that day to day many new meanings have been emerged. One important breakthrough in the field of folklore in the recent period is that it is no more confined to the wall of in the four walls, but it has reached the public domain. So, this is where we try to pitch in this course as well. We try to look at folklore as an interdisciplinary area of studies. So, let us have a look at Indian folk arts. They can be divided into narrative, visual and performative. We will be confining ourselves to visual Indian folk arts in this course. The visual art comprises of sculptures, paintings and architecture, and we would concentrate on folk paintings in this course. Now, let us have a look at the history of visual art in India. The art of India began way back in the Paleolithic culture of the Stone Age, with the famous Bhimbekta petrographs at the Auditorium Cave, Bhimbekta, Madhya Pradesh, as well as others at the Dwaraka Chatan, a narrow rock shelter in the Indragra hill near Tehsil, Bhanpura, Madhya Pradesh. These primitive cupels and instances of rock art have been dated to as far back as 2,90,000 to 7 lakh before Christ. Later, Buddhists were associated with many instances of cave art, which was imitated in the 7th century by Hindus at the Badami, Ahiol, Ellora, Elephants, Aurangabad and Malampuram. In addition, Buddhist literature is full of description about late Iron Age royal palaces in India being decorated with a variety of religious art, including murals and panel paintings, but no such works have survived. The best early mural to have emerged are those from the Brihadiswara temple of Chola and a mural on temple walls in Pudarikapuram and in Trivandrum. This is one of the example. This is from the Brihadiswara temple in Tamil Nadu. Sculptures in India. Sculptures in India dates from the Indus Valley civilization of 2500 to 1800 BC, when small items of bronze sculpture and terracotta sculptures were produced. An early masterpiece is the Dancing Girl of Mohenjo-daro, which is preserved in the National Museum, New Delhi. This is an image of that sculpture. Arguably the first finest surviving statue of the Indus Valley culture. This was followed by the great circular stone pillar and curved lion of the Maurya period, and the matured Indian jaguarative sculpture of the 2nd and 1st century before Christ, in which Hindus and Buddhist themes were already well established. A wide range of sculptural styles subsequently emerged in different parts of India over succeeding centuries, but by 1900 Indian plastic art has reached a form that has lasted with little change up to the modern times. The sculptures is distinguished by its linear character. The figures is conceived from the standpoint of its outline and typically is graceful and slender with supple limbs. From 1900 onwards, the sculptures was used mainly as architectural decoration, with huge number of relatively small figures of mediocre quality being produced for this purpose. Now, let us see Indian tradition of architecture. Arguably the most two greatest example of architecture from the Indian subcontinent are the 11th century Kandariya Mahadev Hindu temple established in 1017 to 1029 at Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh, noted for its Nagara style architecture and extraordinary erotic relief sculpture, and the 17th century Taj Mahal, which was believed to have been made in 1632 to 1654 in Agra, Uttar Pradesh, noted for its Mughal design and serene Islamic art. The Indus Valley civilization covered a large area around the Indus River basin and beyond. In its mature phase from 2600 to 1900 BC, it produced several cities marked by great uniformity within and between sites, including Harappa, Lothal and the UNESCO World Heritage Mohenjo-daro. The civic and town planning and engineering aspect of this are remarkable, but the design of this building is of a startling utilitarian character. There are granaries, drains, water sources and tanks, but neither places nor the temple have been identified through, though cities have a central raised and fortified citadel. As many as 700 wells have been discovered in just one section of the city, leading scholars to believe that cylindrical bricks lined wells were invented by the Indus Valley civilization. The architectural decoration is extremely minimal. Though there are narrow pointed niches inside some buildings, most of the art found in the miniature forms like seals and many in terracotta, but there are a few larger sculptures of figures. In most cities, fire mud brick, not sun-baked as in Mesopotamia, is used exclusively as the building material, but a few such as Dholavira, this is a photo of the Dholavira, are in stone. Most houses have 2 stories and very uniform size and plans. The large cities declined relatively quickly for known reason, leaving a less sophisticated village culture behind. So, what are the materials that were used by the early art in India? So, these are the material: clay, stone, metal, natural fiber, cane, bamboo, wood. So, you can see that the art reflects whatever is found in the vicinity, whatever is found in the environment is being used to make this art. So, looking at the art also gives us a very important perspective on to find what are the materials that are found in and around the region from where the art belongs to. So, friends, today we have seen the background of art in India. Why I particularly wanted you to understand the background of the art in India is that because from now onwards we will be looking at the folk paintings. So, I wanted you to have a fair idea of what are the other art around the folk paintings. So, from next class onwards we will go to the different schools of painting in India, and later on we will see how we can relate the art and the science together. So, friends, thank you for your attention. We will see you in the next class.